I'm Kara Desert, she, her, and hers, and I'm the CEO of the San Diego LGBT Community Center. It is my honor to welcome you to the 2022 Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast Tribute. I wish we were gathering in person at our annual Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast to celebrate the work of our community this past year and commit to the work that lies ahead. Because this event takes tremendous planning, and with the uncertainty of COVID protocols, months ago, we made the hard decision not to host this year's event in person. Even though we are not all together physically, we are so proud to present something new, our Harvey Milk tribute video. In the spirit of this annual breakfast, we are taking the opportunity to reflect on Harvey Milk's passion and the spirit of how we too can be change makers and give our community hope for our collective future. At the center, we serve the LGBTQ+ community every day with programs, services, and resources that make an immediate, life-changing, and often life-saving difference. We know the importance of advocating for our LGBTQ+ community and ensuring that our voice is heard through robust civic engagement. Following Harvey's life example, our San Diego LGBTQ+ community has a deep history in continuously fighting for our rights and our place at the table. We have organized, volunteered, walked precincts, knocked on doors, talked to voters, and given money to build our LGBTQ political power in this region. Together, we voted and encouraged our friends and community to vote and make our voices heard. Since then, beginning with the historic election of Christine Kehoe to the San Diego City Council in 1993 as San Diego's first openly LGBTQ elected official, we have been a powerhouse voting bloc that cannot be ignored. Today, with a surge of anti-LGBTQ legislation and pending repeal of Roe v. Wade, voting is how we fight back and ensure we keep the hard-fought victories we've won and keep moving forward to protect and serve our incredible, diverse, and powerful LGBTQ+ community. Voting is how we stand strong, stand together, and stand proud for who we are, who we love, and for our whole community's future, where every LGBT person is safe, healthy, and enjoys our freedom and our full civil rights. Voting is how we fight against homophobia and transphobia and fight for our families, our community, and a better San Diego for all of us. Thank you again for your continued support of the Center and the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast, and I cannot wait to be together in community, in person, once again next year.
As we know, bigotry and hatred took Harvey from us too soon. He was assassinated in 1978, but not before his impact was felt nationwide. After he died, his life and legacy have been commemorated in so many ways, including a U.S. postage stamp, the naming of a street in several cities, San Diego being the first, the Harvey Milk Terminal in the San Francisco airport, a posthumous award of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and thousands of dollars given out in his name for scholarships for LGBTQ youth. Last year, our LGBTQ community received one of the greatest honors. A Navy ship was christened and named for the slain gay rights leader who served 4 years in the Navy before being forced out for being gay. At the ceremony, the Secretary of the Navy stated that he needed to be here today, not just to amend the wrongs of the past, but to give inspiration to all of our LGBTQ community leaders who served in the Navy, in uniform today, and in the civilian workforce as well, too, and to tell them that we're committed to them in the future. Thank you for joining us today to celebrate Harvey Milk. Remember to pledge to vote in Harvey Milk's name. The future is ours to create.
But the Navy is actually building a ship celebrating someone that they previously didn't celebrate. And that sends a global message. It sends a message of inclusion. It's more powerful than we simply will tolerate everyone. We celebrate everyone.
So good morning. I am honored to represent the women and the men of Military Seal of Command as we celebrate our newest addition to the MSC fleet, United States naval ship Harvey Milk. As you know, he's a Navy veteran and a tireless advocate for equality and universal rights. And having Harvey Milk as a namesake for this ship as she adds to our nation's strategic advantage in agile logistics is absolutely awesome.
Good morning, buenos dias. Today, during these challenging times for not only our LGBT community, but our great nation, I wonder what Harvey Milk would be doing and saying if he were alive today. I know Harvey Milk would have spoke out passionately of the terrorist attack and murder of Black Americans in Buffalo, New York that just took place. He would speak out about the rise of racism. He would be marching with Black Lives Matter and be calling for a complete overhaul of our criminal justice system. As a proud Jewish man, Harvey would fight against the growing rise of attacks and hate crimes against the Jewish community, not only in America, but all over the world. Harvey Milk would have stood tall in support of a woman's right to control her own body. He would be out in the streets marching. Harvey would speak out for immigrants, dreamers, and for all refugees. His voice on this issue would be loud and clear. And I know Harvey would be angry and be a champion and a warrior for the transgender community in those states trying to erase transgender Americans. Harvey especially would not stand for the rise of hate crimes against our Asian Pacific Islander community. And yes, there is a lot Harvey Milk would be proud of our community's accomplishment and victory since the 1970s. Marriage equality, LGBTQ Americans serving in the military, and yes, our very own Mayor Todd Gloria right here in San Diego. And especially he would be proud of Senator Tony Atkins becoming the first woman being elected president of the state senate, and possibly in the future a lieutenant governor or governor of our state. And I know that Harvey Milk would especially be proud that San Diego became the first city to have a street named after him, followed by Salt Lake City, Portland, Paris, France, and Miami. That the San Diego Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast was the first in the nation. I know he would be so proud of the International Appeal Court system, which now has 70 chapters in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and organized and led the campaigns that resulted in the Harvey Milk postage stamp and the USS Harvey Milk. That was actually Christian in San Diego, where Harvey Milk proudly served in the Navy in the 1950s. And yes, this old queen is proud to have chaired and led these successful campaigns. And in closing, Harvey Milk would be so very proud of his nephew, Stuart Milk, who has become a global LGBTQ activist with his Harvey Milk Foundation. But sadly, Harvey Milk's not alive today. So each of us must carry on his fight and activism for LGBT equality. I've been a proud Latino LGBTQ activist now for over half a century. And my Stonewall generation has and is losing many of our San Diego leaders and activists. Bill Beck, Larry Baza, George Murphy, Gene Burkhardt, Bob Nelson, Gloria Johnson, Stan Lewis, and so many others. So I say to you, the next generation, our youth and students, the torch of activism and leadership has been passed on to you. Do you accept it? Will you lead us to that mountaintop of equality that I and others of your elders will never see or reach? There is a Harvey Milk of Hervey out there among you. I know this. We need your generation to take your place as LGBT activists and warriors. And lastly, I say to you, happy Harvey Milk Day, and out of the closets and into the voting booths. Thank you and God bless.
Hello, I'm Robert Gleason, and my pronouns are he, him. As a co-founder and co-chair of the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast, I know this celebration of Harvey Milk is more important today than ever. Harvey Milk's legacy reminds us of the critical role of electing LGBTQ people in advancing equality and equity. In San Diego, we've seen ourselves represented in government since the election of Christine Kehoe, our first out LGBTQ official in 1993. Her San Diego City Council seat has subsequently been held by 4 other LGBTQ leaders: Tony Atkins, Todd Gloria, Chris Ward, and Stephen Whitburn, making it the longest continually held LGBTQ city council seat of any big city in the country, and a pipeline to the state legislature and higher office. Tony Atkins went on to become the first woman and the first lesbian to serve as California Senate President pro tempore. And Todd Gloria made history as the first LGBTQ person and first person of color ever to serve as mayor of San Diego. Today, we see LGBTQ representation in all levels of government, from Chula Vista to Valley Center, from Encinitas to National City, at the County Board of Supervisors, and more. And LGBTQ San Diegans are also represented in the judiciary at the state and federal level. This year, Leonard Trin joined a robust cohort of 8 LGBTQ judges currently serving on the San Diego Superior Court bench. Representation is power. When our rights, our families, and our futures remain under attack, especially for Black and brown LGBTQ people and transgender and non-binary individuals, the results of electing and appointing LGBTQ people can have life-saving impact. LGBTQ leadership shows us what is possible when barriers are broken. But we must not go back. There is real work ahead of us in the fight for equal rights, for reproductive justice, and against the hateful anti-transgender laws being passed in states across the country. Harvey offered hope for the future, for a better tomorrow, and we must too. Thank you for being with us today to celebrate Harvey Milk and the advances made by the LGBTQ community, as we look ahead to the ones we will create together.
Hi everybody, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria here. Pronouns are he, him, his. As San Diego's first LGBTQ mayor, I am so proud to represent our community. One of the lasting legacies of Harvey Milk was his acknowledgement that issues facing the LGBTQ community are intersectional, and that remains true today. Among those key issues are housing and homelessness. And let me tell you, both are LGBTQ issues. We see this for our Stonewall generation, as well as our up-and-coming generation. Both need access to affordable homes. This is even more imperative because our LGBTQ youth represent 40% of the youth experiencing homelessness. As your mayor, I'm committed to creating housing of all types to help tackle our housing crisis. This past year, I launched my Homes for All of Us housing initiative to make it easier to build homes that working and middle-class San Diegans can afford. And I'm dedicated to creating more units of permanent supportive housing and continuing to expand our shelter capacity to get people off the streets. Our LGBTQ seniors, families, and youth all deserve a safe place to call home, and that's what my administration is working to accomplish. At the end of the day, in serving as the mayor of America's 8th largest city, I know I stand on the shoulders of those like Al Best, Nicole Murray Ramirez, our trailblazer Christine Kehoe, the pride of San Diego Tony Atkins, and of course, Harvey Milk. As Harvey noted, by electing more LGBTQ people, that gives the green light to all who have felt disenfranchised, a green light to move forward. It means hope to those who have given up hope, and says that the doors are open to everyone. Community, that's what I hope you see here today. And I hope you'll join me in continuing Harvey's fight for our LGBTQ community. Trust and believe that I'm right there with you. it is an honor to serve as your mayor.
Hi, I'm Senate President Pro Tempore Tony Atkins. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and it is my pleasure to represent our San Diego community. I'm so proud to follow the legacy of LGBTQ trailblazers like Harvey Milk and the many LGBTQ elected officials who've come before us. We've come a long way since Harvey became the first openly gay man elected to public office in our state. And we've continued to build on the legacy of LGBTQ leadership in our community. That historic moment in 1993, when we first elected Christine Kehoe to the San Diego City Council, motivated so many of us and opened the doors for more LGBTQ leaders to successfully run for office, including myself and Mayor Gloria, whom you just heard from. San Diego County now has more out LGBTQ elected officials than any other area in our state, including Los Angeles and San Francisco. From LGBTQ elected officials in the legislature to the Board of Supervisors and city councils, and on governing boards throughout the region, we have representation in many areas. As we know, representation matters. It's helped break down barriers, fight discrimination, and kept public policy moving in a direction that is more inclusive. Right now, that includes California's efforts to preserve, protect, and expand reproductive rights and reproductive justice in light of the likely overturn of Roe v. Wade. Our community needs access to a full range of sexual health services, including access to safe and lawful abortions. And it's important to note that the fight to protect these rights impacts women, trans men, non-binary people, gender-fluid individuals, and others. And that is why I, in partnership with my colleagues, Speaker Anthony Rendon and Governor Gavin Newsom, am working on a constitutional amendment to enshrine the right to abortion in our state constitution. In California, it will be explicitly clear that all people have that right. Once again, we find ourselves in a turbulent time of unknown. But as Harvey said, hope is being able to see there is light despite all of the darkness. Those words give me hope, as do all of you and the righteous work that lies ahead. Thank you.
Today, I'm proud to announce the launch of our 2022 LGBTQ Voter Pledge. Voting is the cornerstone of our democracy and equality for our community. As Harvey said, rights are won only by those who make their voices heard. Given the latest news about the Supreme Court's draft opinion on overturning Roe v. Wade, we must fight back. We have to march, organize, and turn out every single body to vote because our lives, our rights, our bodies, and our families are on the line. The stakes have never been higher for women, for LGBTQ+ people, for all of us. Please join us and take the pledge to vote so that we know we can count on you. And then be sure to vote in the primary. Ballots have already been mailed, so be sure to return those ballots by the election deadline on June 7th.